The fourth Captain America installment is here in Captain America Brave New World. I finally saw the film and now it's time to give you my full and final thoughts on the movie. Be mindful that spoilers will come up later in the review, so I will give you a spoiler warning before doing so. So just make sure you're aware of that going in. Brave New World is directed by Julius Ona. It is rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour and 58 minutes. Sam Wilson, Captain America, finds himself in the middle of an international incident after meeting with President Thaddeus Ross. He must soon discover the reason behind a nefarious global plot before the true mastermind has the entire world seeing red. I'm going to jump right into it with my positives. I think Anthony Mackie does a pretty solid job overall taking up the mantle of Captain America and portraying how Sam Wilson, as a human being, no super soldier serum, handles that kind of pressure. There are moments in the film where he still has doubts about Steve's choice. He's asking himself in his mind, like, should I take the serum? Like, what more do I have to prove? The way that Mackie tackles those doubts gave Sam, as a character, more determination to do the job to the best of his ability, because at the end of the day, yeah, he's not Steve Rogers. And I think by the end, he finally accepts that and embraces that fact. I also want to commend Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley, who I thought gave a really nuanced performance, continuing with his character from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. His story arc is very personal to Sam, and I really enjoyed the heartfelt and human moments he shared with Mackie in their scenes together. The brokenness of Isaiah and the things done to him to make him a super soldier just weigh so heavily on him. And when he's with Sam, everything about his demeanor just changes. He becomes lighter and almost forgets those terrible memories of the past. He finds a kindred spirit in Sam. And when he's forced to do an unthinkable act of which he had no control over, you know, my heart broke for him, because this is a man who is just trying to get by, but will never know what being normal is ever again because of how his government, his own government, has treated him. And seeing Sam try to clear his name and free him was genuine, and I enjoyed those moments very much. Another positive I want to point out is Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Ross, who is taking over the role from the late William Hurt. I think in terms of just characters with depth, Ford crushed it. I think he's easily the character that has the most layers to him in this film. Sure, he jokes about, oh, I'm just doing it for the money and all that, but you don't ever feel that in his performance whatsoever. He gives his all, at least as best as he can, and I liked seeing the regret he feels over the decisions he's made in the past as a general and the reputation he developed for himself, you know, throughout that time. You see that he's trying the best that he can to change and earn his relationship with his daughter again. And with him becoming the president, he tries to use that title to bring the world together, to make up for past mistakes. It doesn't really work out too well for him, though, as you'll come to find out when you see the movie for yourself. And yes, my next positive is, of course, the appearance of Red Hulk. When he does come on the scene, it definitely was one of the better sequences of the film, and it was just great to see a whole character overall just smashing stuff again. It just made me miss those moments even more. But now it's time to get into my negatives. I want to start out with Giancarlo Esposito, who plays the leader of the Serpent Society, Sidewinder. Esposito is a phenomenal actor. I mean, just look at his performance in Breaking Bad. That will tell you everything that you need to know. But to waste him like this is just insulting. Sidewinder is nothing more than a generic bad guy shooting guns who has no real motivations outside of being a lackey for the film's, you know, true villain. The Serpent Society doesn't even make an appearance in the film whatsoever, at least not entirely. It was confirmed that WWE star Seth Rollins was supposed to appear in the film as a member of the society as well. He shot some scenes, but then his scenes were just cut out of the film entirely. And that's another thing I want to go into here, is just the choppiness of the movie. You can really see it. This is a Frankenstein patch project, like through and through. It felt like scenes were missing that could have given more context to other scenes, and I just think that maybe some of the reshoots that were rumored were true, at least in this case. Giancarlo, for example, joined the production really late, and a lot of stuff was reshot to accommodate his character being included. It just looked like a jumbled mess in terms of the final product. At least when it came to like the editing, yeah, it just didn't work for me. Also, the ex-Black Widow character that's featured in the film, Sabra, I honestly felt like she was just a completely wasted character. I don't even understand why she was in the movie at all, other than to just, I don't know, tie into a Black Widow-esque character in some fashion. She just didn't add anything to the overall plot. I mean, yeah, she had some decent action scenes when they would come about, but there just wasn't enough about her on the surface for me to just really care about her at all. This is also a film that ties up a lot of loose ends. It's a loose ends kind of film. It ties things up that started way back in The Incredible Hulk, and also answers the question of what happened to the Celestial that was coming out of the Indian Ocean that first got started in Eternals. That obviously gets answered here. There's a whole action sequence dedicated to that. But it didn't really feel all that cohesive or smooth to me, and it just felt like a cheap way of resolving those plot lines because we kept bugging them about it. All I'm saying is don't start storylines unless you plan to finish them relatively soon. It's as simple as that. And Cap's partner, Joaquin Torres, as the new Falcon, I wasn't a fan of him, if I'm being honest. The guy just would not shut the hell up, and Sam even says that in the movie a couple of times, like, I still can't get this guy to shut up somehow. Yeah, it's that bad. He just kept cracking jokes left and right, and I just don't really see the chemistry between him and Sam. It just doesn't seem to be there. I think Bucky and Sam were a far better pair, and it just made me miss the two of them together even more. The action as well just wasn't very good. The fight choreography felt very slow and clunky. The CGI was mediocre. There was so much green screen moments in there for sure. Some where two characters are just like talking outside and there's no action going on. It looked like they were in front of a green screen, or maybe just the depth of field was just so bad it just looked like that. I don't know for certain, but it was very noticeable. All right, this is your spoiler warning. The rest of this review will be spoiler filled, so if you do not want these moments ruined for you, I suggest skipping this portion of the review and going to my final verdict. I've included timestamps right down below, of course, so you can do that at your leisure. Again, this is your spoiler warning. Okay, so the film's true villain is Samuel Stearns. Remember him from The Incredible Hulk all those years ago? Well, he's back and looking worse for wear as the MCU version of the Leader. And he was wasted too. The Leader is a genius and can see all possible outcomes of any given scenario, but it's kind of ridiculous when the plan that he sets into motion in this movie that he was like cooking up all this time, it just derailed so quickly, and it just made me think of him as just a very weak villain. There just wasn't much to him. Something Marvel knows all too well. He doesn't meet his demise or anything by the end. He gets sent to the Raft prison, so it's possible we'll see him again sometime in the future. Or maybe not. Maybe he'll just stay there so that Marvel can leave another plot line unresolved until almost 2 decades later. While I really enjoyed the Red Hulk sequence at the end, it was just all too brief. I think he must have had no more than maybe like 10 minutes of screen time, yet they put him on all of the marketing material because, you know, they gotta sell this movie somehow, so it just seemed a little bit misleading, but also maybe there just wasn't enough in the budget to have him be in the film for longer than that one sequence. You get teases of Ross about to change throughout the film. There's like 2 instances where that happens. Would have been cool to see him transform when they were on Celestial Island. That would have been an interesting sequence, because that sequence was rather boring to me. Liv Tyler makes her return as Betty Ross for one scene in the movie at the very end to kind of make peace with her dad after his whole, you know, Hulk episode. And I just kept thinking the whole time, when all of these familiar characters, Betty Ross, Thaddeus Ross, Samuel Stearns, when they all showed up, I just kept thinking, where is Bruce Banner during all of this? The fact that Mark Ruffalo is not in this kind of shocks me a little bit, because if there's any character that has rooted history with these other characters, it's Bruce. And I wish we could have seen Ross and Banner meet after all this time and see how that would have played out, but we just don't get anything like that. It just left me scratching my head. Why not include the one character that has such history with these other characters? It just doesn't make any sense. Bucky makes an appearance as well for one scene, which seemed like it was an added scene in reshoots to somehow tie into Thunderbolts. He's essentially giving Sam a pep talk on how to be Captain America and to give people something to aspire to. And I actually really enjoyed that scene. I thought it was, even though it felt like it was added in recently, I still kind of enjoyed it for what it was. And it just made me miss the chemistry between them so much. And apparently he's running for Congress now, which seems like it just kind of came out of nowhere. So I'm hoping Thunderbolts will answer that question. And in true Marvel fashion, there is a post-credit scene after the credits have completely ended, and that is when Sam Wilson visits Sam Stearns in his cell at the Raft, where he starts saying things about other worlds and that the others are coming and that we're not prepared, hinting at a lot of things. It's a pretty general sentence that he says, so it could hint at a lot of things. It could hint at the next Avengers movies. This is the multiverse saga, so when he says that there are other worlds, it makes sense why he would say that, but we don't know specifically what he's talking about. Also, Sam is now in charge of getting the Avengers back together officially. I don't know how that's gonna play out. I don't know if he's gonna be the leader of the Avengers or if he's just gonna bring the Avengers together and they're gonna have a different leader. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out in future MCU films and projects. After all is said and done, I'm giving Captain America: Brave New World a score of 2 out of 5. Despite an overall solid performance from Mackie as Cap and Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Ross, the quality of the film really suffers from noticeable reshoots and script rewrites. Giancarlo Esposito is completely wasted as villain Sidewinder. Joaquin Torres is an annoying partner to Cap who never stops cracking jokes. The action and CGI outside of the Red Hulk sequence is bland and forgettable. While I enjoyed it a little more than I expected to, it is one of the more mediocre films in the MCU, and in my opinion is the worst Captain America film out of the 4. But what did you guys think of Captain America: Brave New World? Did you enjoy it? Where would you rank it on your list of Cap's films? How do you feel about the MCU just as a whole right now? What's your excitement level for Daredevil, Born Again, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below, and remember to like the video if you enjoyed, sub to the channel while you're at it, tick the bell. You know what you're doing. I trust you. Thank you all for watching. Stay classy, stay geeky, and I'll catch you in the next one.
You want me? Come and get me!